What's up, what's up, what's up? Yo, who's all in? Who's all in? Come on, who's all in? What's up? Yo, guys, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, man, you're probably looking at me, you're probably like, yo, David, what's up with your background? Your background is always changing. But guess what, guys? I'm in sunny Florida right now. There was this thing called Elsa, and Elsa had to get out of town because he knew the Duncans was coming to build. They was coming to Tampa. They were coming to Tampa. But yeah, man, I'm down here in Tampa, Florida right now, and I could be on the poolside right now, chilling and relaxing. But guess what, guys? I'm here with you. You know why? Because I love you. And we got something important to talk about. So we got so much to talk about today, guys. And today is a special presentation there, guys. We got the Tackling Money Finance Live. And we got some heavy hitters in the building. We're going to get to them soon. But right now, brothers, I want to talk to you guys. I want to talk to you guys, and I want to also thank you guys as well for being a part of the Men's Health Month. And brothers, we had a great one. A great Men's Health Month. And I want to give a shout out to all the leaders who participated during this Men's Health Month. Big shout out to Coach K, Kashif in the building. Had me doing all types of workouts with the warm-ups, with the cool-downs, with the RDLs. Come on, man, if you were participating, man, big shout out to you. Also, the problem also too, and listen, I was working out, but I was also eating a lot, and that was because of Chef Fu. Cooking with Chef Fu on Tuesdays. Thank you, Chef Fu, for giving me that Peruvian chicken with some Haitian rice, with some fried plantains. Oh my gosh, it tastes so good with some green sauce. I probably shouldn't have been doing that, right? Or even putting bacon on the salmon burger. I should not have done that. That kind of defeats the purpose. But yes, I did that. I was guilty. And then also on Wednesdays, big shout out to Curtis Cox of Curtis Careers for giving us all these professional tips as well. We appreciate it. And also with peace of mind, we had that moment where we could just woosah and be still. But today is a special day. It is a Thursday. And typically on a Thursday, we do tackling money. And guys, today is the day. But before I get to it, I know you're excited. You're amped to get started with this. But also, guys, we've been doing something else this month. We did something called the Run, Bike, and Hike. And brothers, I just want to shout out a couple of brothers who participated in this. Man, we had such a good time. The first one we did was the run, and I gotta shout out the brothers of JT's group. Check them out, man. Looking like Superman. My man Matthew Lee there, looking like he's a boxer. Check him out, man. Oh man, we had a good time that day. And brothers, it was super hot. Some of us had to take a shortcut just to get to the finish line. I won't say who. Peter. But yeah, some of us had to take a shortcut. But the next week, we also did the Run Bike. So we had the bike, and we did a bike in Central Park. And big shout out to all my brothers there who came out for Central Park. Some of the brothers were struggling a little bit, and some of them had an electric pedal assist bike. I'm not going to shout, I'm not going to blow you up there, but William, yes, I'm talking about you. You had a pedal assist bike while we were struggling going up that Harlem Hill. This brother was breezing by every one of us. Oh my. I know Pastor Craig knows very well about that hill when he's jogging. He'll probably tell you something about it. But guys, it did not stop there. We actually went up to Cold Springs, New York, and we conquered Bull Hill. Check out this beautiful image. Oh man, this is towards the ending of the trip, ending of our trail and our hike, and we had a wonderful time in nature, spending time with God, and also fellowshipping with one another. But it didn't stop there. We had a bonus one. We actually rode up the West Side Highway all the way to the GWB Bridge. And brothers, it was nice. Check out the crew here. Man, big shout out to my man, Kenneth Gladden. He actually did three of the events. Peter and myself, kudos to us. We did all four. I kind of didn't have a choice to do all four, but yeah. But big shout out to Ken for Ken. He came out and he did all three of the four events. And brothers had such a good time. We are looking to do this again, man. We're going to do this again. Next month, we might do another bike. If we want to get another run going, hey, we'll do another run as well. And we're going to do another hike as well. We're going to do another hike in the fall, for the fall semester of our Biblical Manhood series, right? So guys, this has been great. I have had a great time. I didn't lose a pound, or if I did lose a pound, I put it back on Tuesday. I put it all back on Tuesday. Trust me, I did that. But other than that, we had a great time. But today we want to talk about money and finances, and what it is and how important it is. And like I said, I have some heavy hitters in the building tonight, and I want to introduce them right now to you. So brothers, I want to bring to you the how should I call him? The CEO, the head person in charge. Yes, sir. All the way from Australia, down under, it's my friend. You know him as John, the smoothest voice on YouTube right now. That is him of Boerum Hill Financial Advisors. We got my man, John Elks. Welcome. Jonathan Elks, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and I'm a little embarrassed about your Australian accent.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Hold up, I messed up here. There we go. Ooh, we look much better right now. Sorry about that. Yes. I'm sorry. I butchered the Australian accent. I'm sorry about that. So other than that, we also have my favorite pastor, your favorite pastor. He probably wouldn't like that I just said that, but I don't care. He is also the director of the men's ministry, all-in men's ministry here at the Brooklyn Tabernacle. That's right, Pastor Craig Holliday. Pastor Craig Holliday, welcome to Tackling Money Finance Live.
Hey, John, do you feel so embarrassed when he introduces you? Like, where's the lights? Where's the camera?
It's hard to follow. It's hard to follow.
I know. It's like, it's so hard to follow. It's like, man, I hope I live up to what he's saying here.
So, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this, and thank you also for the wisdom that you guys shared this month for Men's Health Month. And we just really want to just jump right into it, if it's okay with you guys, and really start things off with some Q&A that we got from some of the guys, and gentlemen too, if you're watching this live, and we invite you to submit your questions. You could post them in the comment section on YouTube, and we will begin to read them out here for you. And John, and as well as Pastor Craig, will answer it for you to their best of ability as well.
Hey, Dave, I want to interject for a second. I know this wasn't part of the program, but just want to say, for anyone who watches this, that's watching live, and someone who watches it in the future, that you have done a tremendous job of, just continuously being here and doing this. My hat's off to you. Hats off to Jordan and Carlos and Jeff and JT and Kashif and Curtis, and who participated. We can't forget Peter, who runs usually everything that's going on behind the scenes. Without you guys constantly, and I know I'm leaving someone out, but please forgive me if I didn't mention your name. You're in my heart. But you guys and all of the leaders, you guys have done such a tremendous job of keeping this going, especially during the last 16 months, staying in contact with the guys in your small groups and everything. And so I take my hat off to you. I publicly want to acknowledge you guys for all the work and effort you put into it, and your commitment to serving men at the Brooklyn Tabernacle, and not just at the Brooklyn Tabernacle, because we have guys who have joined us because of these live events that have been getting involved that may not be members of the Brooklyn Tabernacle. So thank you so much, guys.
Amen. Thank you for that, and I can probably speak for every one of us. It's been a pleasure serving the men, and just the Lord just using us, and it's, I don't know, it's just been heartwarming as well. There's a verse that says, water others and you will be refreshed. I know I've been refreshed, and I can speak for many of the leaders the same as well. So guys, let's jump into this, and we're praying that guys would be refreshed from the content and from the questions and the answers that we're getting today. So the first one we want to talk about, guys, is this first question that says, I'm embarrassed about my financial situation, and I'm going to read it. The question is this: at times, there is a level of shame or pride when a person is in a financial trouble. How can opening up and talking with someone help? Please give examples, whether from personal experience or even professional.
John, you said,
yeah,
and I'll just piggyback off.
Yeah, let me start with let me describe something. Imagine if you were married, you passed away, you left your wife in debt, and as a result, your two sons were going to be enslaved to someone else to pay off that debt. Now, what I've described is 2 Kings chapter 4, when a prophet passed away, and that's how he left his wife and two sons. And you can read that, but we're all very familiar with the second part of that story, where Elijah helped the wife. How did he help her? She came to him. I'm going to be evicted. They're going to take my two sons as slaves. And we probably all remember the story about Elijah saying, well, what do you have in the house? He didn't say your house. He said, what do you have in the house? And she said, a jug of olive oil. And we all remember the story, how he said, well, gather all the empty vessels and you can fill them up. And she sold all these jugs of olive oil, and she paid off her debts and lifted off the profits. So in terms, it's a tough topic to start with, feeling embarrassed and ashamed, but it's certainly not something that is dare I say, ungodly, because there we have an example of a prophet who certainly wasn't financially, you could say, financially responsible, whatever the circumstances was. I find, I'm a financial advisor. I deal with, I have a lot of people that, and a lot of them come to me with a problem, and a lot of them come to me with opportunities. Am I doing the right thing? And with guys, and I'll say this, often when people come to me with problems, it's because they've been referred to me. It's rare that someone will say, I've had it, a husband and wife, they had more than a dozen credit cards and, a lot of debt issues. They realized they had a problem and they came to me for help. But guys, I had, he was a fireman, and he said, I'm going to start my own business. He bought all this inventory, and of course not of course, but it didn't take off, and now he's still got all this inventory in his garage and a lot of credit card debt. But I find with women who come to me or who are referred to me with problems, they're more embarrassed, and they just don't know the way out. And I think it's a good way to start in that. I don't know if any of you have done the Be Transformed program, but the first chapter of that is getting over the lies that we believe. And if you believe a lie, it becomes truth. And, before, we were Christians, we probably heard this one quite commonly. God helps those who help themselves. Right?
Oh, man.
We know that is totally not biblical, but
right.
It's quoted a lot. And here's some other ones that, these scripts that we can believe. If you are good, your financial needs will be taken care of. As long as you live a good life, you will always have enough money. Most rich people do not deserve their money. It's hard to be rich and to be a good person. Good people should not care about money. Is it okay to have more than you need? Things would be better if I had more money. Now, a lot of these things we're familiar with, but are they really the truth? So, in terms of the question, I'm embarrassed. Well, imagine how that prophet would feel that here we are, probably nearly 3,000 years later, talking about how he left his family really in the ditch. And what's that message to us? Your faith isn't going to be your financial advisor. However, what can I do? And how should I think about money, and how should I relate to it? Because if you're embarrassed about it, then it's probably in control. But if you're not, you're getting it to work for you. But I'll leave it at that. We'll have some questions in the chat box. But just as a backdrop, it's easy to say don't be embarrassed, but it's so easy. The toughest people we are is on ourselves generally, and you got to give yourself a break.
Pastor?
Yeah, and you know what? That was really a good backdrop you set up there, John. And it's funny. One of those lies that you said, someone just said it to me recently, and I asked them to show me where it's at in the Bible. God help those who help themselves. And the person said, the Bible says that. And I said, could you show me where that's at?
Yeah.
Because I've just never seen it in there. But since you brought it up, and the person went, well, I'm not sure where it's at. I said, well, how do you know it's in the Bible then? Well, someone told me. And that's a long story. But, the thing is that finances is not something to be afraid of. It's we all have to start somewhere, right? And I think the starting point is getting to a place where you can be honest with yourself, whether you have made some choices that didn't work out, and they're not necessarily poor choices, but you made some decisions, and sometimes those things don't work out. Sometimes you've made poor choices because you didn't manage your money properly. It's nothing. It's easy to say don't be embarrassed, but I think the one thing we have to do is just come to a place of reckoning and realize that we need help. I think that's the biggest challenge for all of us sometimes, is that we're not willing to get to a place where we say we need help. I think when we acknowledge that we are in a position where we don't know how to manage ourselves out of it, it's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem for us to seek out wise counsel, because the Bible says there's wisdom and safety in the multitude of counsel, right? And so if there's something that's beyond your control, that's outside of the scope that you're able to handle, then it's okay to ask someone. Like John said, people refer him. Now, why are people referring him? Because people come to some of those individuals and they say, you know what, I may not be the best verse person in here, but if you really want to change, you really want help, I know someone that can help you walk through this and get your financial portfolio in a better shape. And so really, I think a lot of times starts with us coming to a place and we realize, okay, I'm not in the position, I've gotten myself in this position, I don't know how to get out of it. And so you have to get to that place where you recognize that and move forward.
So good, guys, and I totally agree with you. Really, really good. John, you was about to say something else, or?
Well, a lot of let me give you some examples of what people come to me, and let me just sum up their question. John, will I ever be able to retire? That's one. Another one, and this is recently, someone came to me, they're late 50s, and they don't have anything saved for retirement. What do I do? Another one, and a lot of these people don't have bad spending habits. They're not out in the credit card, going to Macy's or Saks and spending up and having the lifestyle. Another one, invested in a property. She lives in it, but she got a little overwhelmed with debt. And what do we turn to? We often turn to our credit cards, which is difficult. Another lady in her 50s, great spending habits, but again, taking care of her mother, who's in a nursing home, and she doesn't have anything saved for retirement. So a couple, again, no crazy spending habits, but they've had a few financial surprises, like they got caught up with some state taxes. They had a bill for like $6,000. So she loses a lot of confidence in her husband's ability to manage the finances. Not that he's got spending problems, but there goes that relationship thing. Where do I get my confidence from? So another couple, they had nearly 18 credit cards. And of course, we all think here's another line: the more I spend, the more I save. You think about that and say, oh, that sounds like, oh, no, it doesn't. Spending's the opposite of saving. So, but what a credit card wants to do, why do we have 18 credit cards? Because I've got JetBlue loyalty, I got Macy's loyalty, I got the Gap loyalty, I got all these loyalty cards, and I'm getting benefits. I said, well, you need a CPA to work out where you are every month with 18 credit cards. So there's a lot of traps out there, and a lot of people end up in trouble, not because, I'm a big believer in, we've got to give a break to people who what do they call it, dumb and young, right? We can make some dumb mistakes when we're young, but let's give the people a break, and when they're older, let's not hold that against them. So
Right.
it's I don't think there's anyone out there that hasn't made a bad financial decision that they probably, if only, So
Hmm.
there is a door. Let me sum it up. There is a door to exit this, but maybe you need someone to help you find the door. You're
Right.
not stuck in this situation. You're not in this financial jail for life. There is an exit, because for all those people I've talked about, we're on the way, or we're there in terms of solving the problem.
That's good.
Yeah. No.
And sum it up, and before I move on to the next question, it's very similar to like what we tell you guys all the time, as well as is when sometimes when you open up and you begin to talk about the things that are affecting you in your life or the sins that you're struggling with, you quickly realize it's like, wow, I'm not the only person who's struggling in this situation. I'm not the only person that's in this boat. And guys, we just want to encourage you as well, if you're watching now, whoever's watching now and who's going to be watching later on, is hey, speak to someone. Talk to your brother, talk to a friend, speak to a leader. You could call myself or Pastor Craig, and we'll get you in contact with John, whoever. Speak to somebody and allow them, and just talk to them. And guess what? You're probably not. You're not alone in this. There's
Right.
tons of other people who's been in this before, and you could get out. Right, the same way that Christ is there and He helped us to get out of our sins. There is a way out of financial destitute as well. So, brothers, keep that in mind. We have a question from the comment section I want to get to, but I think it's kind of in line to what is our next question as well. So I want to talk about this. My level of debt is so overwhelming. So the question is this, guys. My debt is so overwhelming, and I have no idea where to start. So instead of dealing with it, I keep procrastinating. Where do I begin? I need help.
That that and but that just speaks volumes to me, because it reminds me of a situation that a young man found himself in, where he was kind of in that same boat, and he was overwhelmed by his debt. He had ran up credit cards. He was while he was in college and going to school, because he felt he had to wear the latest fashions. Now I'm talking, this was probably about 10, 15 years ago. Yeah, it was about 15 years ago. And he one day came up to me, and he was just honest. He says, "Hey, I'm trying to get serious about life. I'm interested in the young lady. She's serious about life, and right now I'm carrying a lot of debt and everything." So we sat down in my office, and I said to him, I said, "So let me ask you this. Have you been in contact with the credit card companies and uh, those you owe money to?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, why not?" And he goes, "Well, I'm just overwhelmed by all the debt, and so I've just been ignoring them." And I explained to him. I said, "Well, ignoring them is never the answer. This is not a situation where you ignore it and it goes away. So what you need to do is come up with a strategy." So we sat down with a strategy, and I had him contact each and every credit card or person he owned, whether it was a student loan and everything, and reach out to them and start creating a payment plan. Even if he could get with a company to consolidate it, because sometimes you get with these companies and they can consolidate your payments, and you're paying at a premium because they're going to charge you a rate. But the thing is that he did that after 2 years. He was debt free. He felt like he was in a position where he could propose to this young lady and get married. And I can say that they have 3 kids, and living in another state. And so, but it can be done. And sometimes you will feel overwhelmed by some of the debt you created. And I think John kind of alluded to it. There's some things that happen that are totally outside of our control. Medical bills. you have a medical crisis. That's something that wasn't on your radar. And so that can put you at that. But when it comes to your if you created this debt, the one thing you have to start doing is getting to a place where you're willing to face up to it and get the help you need, so that you can begin to live a better quality of life, because that's hanging over your head, and it's stealing your joy, it's stealing your peace. And it's not good when you're getting all these emails from creditors or letters from creditors, and you can't go out and actually enjoy life the way you would like to. And so I said that story because I think that was a great example of someone who was overwhelmed, but got to a place where they were willing to reach out for help and come up with a strategy, come up with a plan, executed and implemented that game plan in such a way that they were able to become debt free and move on with their life.
Yeah. It reminds me, on a lighter note, I remember a pastor saying in a sermon, talking about marriage. What did he say? Your wife will halve your sorrows, double your joys, and treble your expenses. So, who was that? That was Redpath. What was his first name? I forget his name, but he's long passed away. But I remember listening to an old sermon and he mentioned that one. He also had a good joke for the summertime. It was so hot out there, he said. I saw a dog chasing a cat, and they were both walking. So, yeah, I figured I could use pastors' jokes, right? So, yeah, well, debt. Boy, we need a bit of a line for to lighten that up. There's good debt and there's bad debt, and a general rule is if your repayment schedule is a lot shorter than how long what you're buying is going to last, that's good debt, right? So you buy a house and land, of course, it's going to be there long after you've paid it off. You buy a car, 3 to 5 years, whatever. But I can say this at the men's meeting. You buy a wedding dress, now should you put that on credit? No. You should use cash because you're only going to wear it once, right? So, or your Mardi Gras costume. So we tend to put a lot of things on credit card that when the bill comes, the benefit of what we purchased is just long gone. Now, to manage debt, though, you need a little bit of responsibility, and you've got to administer it because it's very easy for it to take control of you. So, and keep in mind, there's very few of us who have ever owned a house without a mortgage. So, and it can become a little confusing. Does the Bible say we can have debt or not? Never be a borrower or lender, whatever. But if we do take it on, remember, you are spending tomorrow's income for today's benefit. So it is okay, but unfortunately, there's a lot of forces out there, organizations that are very keen for you to lose control and get another credit card. We're the only country in the world with a national credit score, and it's hard to get a credit score. I got a personal view. The credit score system here is to help keep people poor. We make sure people get into debt so they can get a score. But credit cards are extremely dangerous, and even if they say if you go to the grocery store and you pay off your credit card at the end of every month. So I'm not paying any interest. If I use cash to buy my groceries versus a credit card, you will spend 20% less. They've done studies on that. So a credit card just generally makes you spend more. And there's probably a later question. The simple equation for wealth is live below your means. Now, if a credit card is not helping you do that, then you've got to manage it extremely well, and keep on top of it. So, I have a lot of people that arrive to me, and we have credit cards with children, kind of thing. But, and I would say you're very lucky to get over that in 12 months, but Pastor Craig gave that example of that young man. It really does take a couple of years. So you really, as I said, there's the door to exit, but and you've got to kind of, keep your shoulder to the wheel for 2 years, and that's a long time, but you get to see benefits pretty quickly. And it's good to have an accountability partner. It's hard to do this all on your own. I'm not saying get a financial advisor. I'm just going to say talk to someone you trust and say, look, help me out. What do you think? Finances is talking about your finances is more personal than talking about your health, because you're laying at a lot of your life. Your health. Well, I got a bad neck. You're not talk about from your head to your toe, but when I'm talking to clients and so forth, I find out about everything, and that's a very gradual process, because they got to trust you, and there's no shortcut to trust, and so it takes time, and just so be it. But it's very hard to do on your own. If you've got some problems, and I think with C.S. Lewis, one of his quotes was, the start of a friendship. Oh, did that happen to you too? As soon as you say something to someone, and they say, did that happen to you too? Bingo, you got a friend.
Yeah.
Rest assured, you are not the first. And all they'll say is that all. So you got that's the toughest. Like always, the toughest step is the first step. But just go to someone you trust, and trust with your stuff, because it is very, very personal, more personal than going to the doctor. I believe.
So there's a question here from
and Dave, if I
ahead.
can just add on to what John just said about credit cards. One thing that I think people don't consider is that when you purchase something with a credit card, and there's a difference between a charge card and a credit card. A charge card is something like American Express that you have to pay off on a monthly basis, the entire balance. Credit card, you can carry it and let it float. You have to consider that whatever you purchase with a credit card that you don't pay off right away at the end of the month, you're now paying more for that item you purchased, because now you're paying interest on it. So it's actually costing you more. So if you purchase something that was $50 and you now are letting it float out to maybe 2 or 3 months before you actually pay it off, you've actually paid almost $100 for that item that you only paid $50 for initially. So you have to always keep those things in mind. That's why credit card companies stay in business, because they live off the interest that they charge consumers for using their products.
Good stuff. And this is right along the lines of a question that we got online here from Paul Clark. He says this, gentlemen, what do you advise regarding low interest debt consolidation loans? That's our brother Paul there. Thank you so much for that question. And I'll just say one more time for you guys, what do you advise regarding low interest debt consolidation loans? John, how would you be the first person to tackle that?
Yeah. You got to look at low interest debt consolidation loans are a means to an end. Mm-hmm. So if your goal is no debt, that's great. But if your goal is, well, let me consolidate this and just carry on and then I'll do this all again, that's not good. But a low interest consolidation is a good step. But remember, it's a means to an end. What is your goal after you've done that? Ideally, you don't need to consolidate and do that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the key word you said, Don, was goal. What's your goal? If you don't have a goal, if you know the old saying, you aim at nothing, you hit it every time. You got to have a goal.
Great. So guys, let's get on to this another question. And this topic is it possible for me to still build wealth? And I'll read the question for you as well. The question is this: I'm a middle-aged man, and I made some poor choices during the first portion of my adult life. I feel like I'm way behind in comparison to everyone else. Is it possible for me to still build wealth?
Well, the answer to that is, I don't care how old you are. The answer is yes. And, but of course, when we at the end of the month, when we get all these statements, we could say, boy, I'm just behind the the 8 ball. So, if you're only looking a few feet ahead, that's all you'll see. But I mentioned it before, the secret of building wealth is living below your means. If you can save, then that's a pathway to wealth. But keep in mind, if a client comes to me and says, I want to make a lot of money, I want to be rich. I said, well, that's not a goal. What's my key to building wealth? Well, what do you want to build wealth for? What are you going to use it for? We get back to this goal again. With planning, it's the last step I have with anybody. We'll only start with investing as the first step if you've got a small fortune. But most people aren't in that situation. So investing is the last step. So investing is how you build wealth, or what you're doing with your wealth. So, it's a question, well, why do I want to build wealth? Well, maybe there's going to be a time in your life when you're not able to work. Mm-hmm. You can't get up and you can't do the 9 to 5. So you want to prop home. Maybe there's something you want to leave behind. George Herbert said, he was a Christian poet. He said about money, all comes from and goes to others. Every penny we get comes from somebody else.
Yeah.
Every penny. And we either spend it or leave it to somebody. We arrive with not a penny and we exit with not a penny. So this so-called wealth is our time period here. So you can build wealth. The biggest hurdle often is, well, I've spent my wealth today. How did I do that? Because I got all this debt, right? I spent it today, and I just mortgaged all my income in the years ahead. So, there's ways to do it, but again, a good incentive is why. Why do I want to build wealth? Because I want to give to people. I want to look after people. I want to You know, I don't want to be. I want to relax in my retirement. You know, I don't want to be worried about where my next dollar's coming from. Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons. You know, I want to give it away. Whatever. Um, but I think it's an important objective. But more important is what are you going to do with it? Because that'll give it legs. You know, if you know, I want to be Jeff Bezos and I got a yacht and a backup yacht. Well, whoopee. But you know, it's what are you going to do with your wealth, and how can you know, it's always, so it's better to give than receive. So if I build it up and I can give it away, that's great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I will echo what John said. Yes, I mean it is always possible to build well, and it really comes down to what do you want to build it for. If you want to create some financial security for yourself, your family, your kids, you want to leave something to them. If you have kids, you want to support an organization that you really feel strongly about, that you want to be able to build into, that someone you know has started, and you say, hey, you know what, I want to build some. But most of the time, when from some of the folks I've come in contact with, it's really because they want to feel somewhat financially secure when they get to that age of retirement, and they don't want to be looking over their shoulders about debt and everything else. So they want to build some wealth around, so that when they retire, they can retire and have all their bills met, and then a little bit some. Want to travel, want to invest or support, like I said, some non-for-profit. But and a lot of times they just want to be able to leave something for their family, their loved ones, so that when they leave, they can say they did something for them. But it's always an opportunity to build wealth, no matter where you are in life. And the thing I would say is, yeah, if you look around, you might find some folks who are more in a financial situation than you are. However, they had to start somewhere as well. And so it's never too late. Just look at it this way. And I always use sports analogy. Look at it as halftime. And now you're going to regroup and go out and play the second half differently.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much for that. That was so good. This next question, I like this next question because I kind of fell into this boat with this next question. So I'm going to put it up here for you guys. I spend to feel better. I spend to feel better. And let me just read you the question really quickly. I'm afraid of money, hence me always spending it. How do I stop? Before we begin, I'll let you guys talk. The reason why I felt so comfortable with this and I related to this question is because, John, you spoke about before the lies that we believe. I used to always tell myself over and over again, I don't have money. I don't have money. Like when it comes to certain things, like, oh, I don't have money to do this. I don't have money to do that. So guess what I used to do? So anytime I used to get money, guess what I was doing? I was spending it all, and then I would really begin to say, I don't have money, which was really foolish. It came to a point where I had to just like, oh snap, look what you're doing. You're believing these untruths and you're falling into these traps, and you're actually putting yourself and you're hurting yourself in the process. So whoever wrote that down, hey, me too. So you're not you're not alone in that one. So guys, you go ahead.
Yeah, another way is can you be rich and a good person? Do I deserve money? Is it okay to have more than you need? You can just build these little guilt lies, and it it infects your spending. But let me give you another example of this. I had one lady, she didn't have any spending problems. In fact, she was quite, judicious and, monitoring what she spent and how she spent it and so forth. Knew what bills were coming in and whatever. But she'd never filed her tax returns. And I said, look, we should do this because you're going to, you could get a refund. John, I don't want to go there. I said, well, why is that? What happened why do you feel like that? I said, well, every time my mother and father spoke about money, it was an argument. So that's all she remembers as a child, is money was an argument and a fight. And that can cause a fear. And that just gets you into trouble, not because you got bad spending, but you're not filing your taxes. And then, the IRS is the biggest gorilla there is, really. And you don't want to take them on. You just want to keep up and do the right thing. So it's interesting when we have these fears just about the topic, and a lot of our money ideas and beliefs do come from our childhood, and maybe what we learned early on, but not to get into any therapy sessions, but if you fear something, then it's in control, right? It's not working for you. So you got to say to yourself, well, I'm in the wrong position here. I got to get the money behind me. And money works for me. My wealth works for me. I don't cower at it. But again, it's easily said. The quickest way to address that, if that's an issue, is talk to someone you trust, and just talk about that.
Yeah, no, and I agree, because a lot of times we give into these fears, these misnomers, these beliefs, things that we carried with us, and we think, kind of like what you said, Dave, D Square, is that we buy into these lies that, and one of the other ones that kind of coupled with the other one that you had mentioned, John, the more I spend, the more I have. That's another, but you feel good because and the old saying, trying to keep up with the Joneses or whatever that looks like. It really hurts you. And so it's really understanding that you can't let your feelings dictate what you do. You have to be able to manage your feelings and your emotions in a healthy way, so that as it doesn't create all these other problems for your life. And so to spend money you don't have, to spend money to think it's going to make you feel better, and especially if you, like I said, you don't have that money, but you're still spending, is really creating more heartache for you, because at some point in time, someone's going to have to pay that bill. It's not going to go away on its own. Someone's going to have to pay that bill, and it's going to come to a point ahead, and you're not going to feel good about that. And so all that time you were feeling good about spending, now when it comes time for you to pay that back, that's when you start feeling a little differently about yourself. So it's good to really talk to someone. If you feel that this is something that's outside of your control, we all have people we talk to, and you've heard me say this, Dave, and I'm quite sure some of the other folks who are watching this, is we should have people who are in our lives that we can bounce things off of, because we all have blind spots, and finances might be one of your blind spots. How to manage them properly, and to ensure that Don't put yourself, or if you're married, your family or your kids in a financial hole.
Yeah. Man.
Totally forgot I was on mute there. Sorry. I
No,
hope I
no,
hope
that's
you
good.
guys are I hope you guys are really taking advantage of the wisdom that is being imparted here. And we want you guys to also know, like, if you have a question, please feel free to put it within the chat, and we'll get that question answered for you. So I want to go to a question. It was a question from our YouTube chat right now, and I just want to bring it up, and it's from our good friend Chef Fu. He says this: is it wise to think about selling your home to transition to rent with a more stable monthly expense outlook, rather than home upkeep and a mortgage expenditures closer to retirement? Saying that he's much closer to the retirement, and he's looking to possibly sell his home and move into rent, and asking, hey, is it wise for him and his wife to do so?
I think
Yeah.
those type of,
Yeah.
go ahead, John. You were going to say something?
Yeah. It's a common question, and um, let's say you own a home and you've paid it all off, and let's say your home is worth $500,000. So you've got $500,000 sitting there, but none of it's going to pay to put any food on the table, right? Plus, you've got to maintain it, you've got to insure it, and you've got to pay the taxes and so forth. Often, when you move to retirement, it can be a wise move to liquidate that home. The capital gain on it, if you're married, up to $500,000 is tax free. So that's a lot of tax free money. If you're single, it's $250,000. And then you can, I'm not just going to say invest, but I'm just going to say you can manage that money. And when you're in retirement, you may retire somewhere. Imagine this: you retire somewhere. This is nice. Then 3 years later, I can't stand this place. Now, if you're bored, it's expensive to move. Or I want to spend, the first 5 or 10 years of my retirement in Vermont. And then I want to move south. Now, that's a lot less expensive if you're thinking of renting. If you're owning property, you don't want to be buying and selling, less than 8 or 9 years, because the friction costs, the selling costs are quite high. So it's a very common decision people who are facing retirement make. And also, now that interest rates are so low, if you're in retirement, I have a client, they have $1 million apartment, she's single, no kids, and I don't want a mortgage. I say, okay, well, that's great. So whoever you leave the apartment to is going to be real happy with that. Why don't you spend a bit of it? And, interest rates are 2-3%. So, get a mortgage for 2-3%, $300,000. I'm sure whoever you leave it to, they're going to have a $700,000 apartment. I'm sure they're going to be as happy. Plus, you get to spend a bit of it. So, as you hit retirement, you want to. There's a lot of options you want to consider, but it's quite common, quite reasonable, and that's they talk about these reverse mortgages. You want to do your homework on that, but what's that doing? You stay in your house and you can get access to your equity, and it's all tax free. So good question, and it's it's a common choice, but there's a bigger picture here. I think as an important decision is, I got my Social Security, I'm going to take it at 62. Hang on. Your Social Security payment every year could go up 8% every year if you wait. Now, what job have we all had that had an 8% pay rise every year? So if you're in good health, max out your social at 70, but 5% of people do. Why? I paid it all. I want my money from the government. I'm going to take it now. And I think a lot of people last year obviously would have, you can start at 62, but you're taking a big, go to, here's the website. It's an easy one, ssa.gov. Create your account, and you can see what your Social Security will be if you're 67 or you're 70. And just look at those numbers. You'll be surprised. Whatever you're going to get at 67, when you're 70, it'll be 25% more. So if you were getting $4,000 a month, it's not that high. Let's say $2,000 a month at 67. You wait to 70, you're going to get $2,500 a month till the day you die. So that's a big, there's a lot of things you got to weigh up in retirement. What do you do with your property, and Social Security too. That's the only, it's a great annuity. Something that they're going to pay to you forever.
Pastor, did you want to jump in on that too?
Well, no, I was going to say that what John said was really good and informative. I think you have to assess where you are, but I do think you have to be prudent in making those decisions. Do you want to liquidate the home? Is relocation part of the game plan? Because there's folks who, excuse me, who live here in New York that I know of who have gotten to that place where they just said, you know what, it is cheaper for me to relocate and live in a place like Florida, where you are right now, Dave, or somewhere else, and liquidate the assets that I have up here, whether it's real estate or whatever, and I can just live very comfortable where I'm at with what I have. And so I think you have to sit there, you have to assess, but you should also speak to someone who is very familiar with everything that's going on. I think John just put it out there really well, understanding what your options are, so that you can make an informed decision. You always want to weigh all the options, look at all the angles, and say, okay, what was back throwing out there? What your ultimately what your goal? How do you want to retire and anything else? And, it's very important. But that's a good question, Peter.
Yep. Yeah, the very thanks for that question.
Dave,
Peter,
I think if you put up that website I think the website that John referred to, folks.
I'm ahead of you. Looking right there, ssa.gov.
That's an easy one, right?
ssa.gov. And we're also going to put it in the chat there for you guys too, so you will have that information and you could just refer to it on your own time. We just put it within the chat for you guys, ssa.gov. So when you have an opportunity, just go on there, guys, and do what John said. Put in your retirement aid, your retirement, as well as your income, and see what you're capable and what you're.
It's all there. You'll see they'll have a list of all. This is what you earned every year. You've been paying into Social Security. You'll see that list. In fact, I did that for someone at the church, and they showed me the statement. I said, you got zero income for 10 years. The government's missed out. You got to go back and fix that, because they take the average for your Social Security of the last 35 years. I said, you got 10 zeros in there. So, and you were working those 10 years. Oh yeah. So it's something you should check, and make sure that you're getting what you're owed. Yeah, that's why if you've got a green card, you've got to file a tax return for the rest of your life, because The government wants to track your Social Security.
Well, thank you for that information. This is good
Yeah.
information here, guys. Really good information. And we're hoping you guys are getting something good out of this that you could just begin to take on and just learn from, glean from as well, and also share. If you know anybody that this could be a benefit to, please share this video with them. We will greatly appreciate it, but I think that person would greatly appreciate it even more. So, guys, I want to get into the next topic. We're almost done here, and we're almost at the finish line. So I want to get into the next topic here. And this next topic, we did a whole series on this during the Tackling Money series, and that's tithing. And this is the question here, and it's a very interesting question. He says this. Hi, gentlemen. My question is about tithing. My money goes to rent, bills, and my kids. I want to tithe, but I can't see how I can with all my responsibility. Does God understand if I can't tithe? Ooh, that's a good one. Who wants to tackle that first?
I always look at the incident in the synagogue with those who were giving a lot of money, and then you have this woman who gives a very little, and Jesus says she gave the most. We tithing is something as believers, as Christians, we take seriously, because we want to support the ministries that help us grow spiritually, and help with our spiritual formation, that we build community. And so we want to ensure that those ministries stay going and giving to them. I think in any situation, if you have, and those things are inevitable. You need a place to stay, the essentials. If you have kids, you need to make sure that you have food and all those things. And that's extremely important, and that's high up there on the list. I think sometimes God knows what we can give. He knows what we can't. If we are managing ourselves properly, and if we are being very disciplined and intentional and deliberate about how we spend our money. I heard a good friend of mine who was also a financial advisor. He said, Craig, every dollar should have a name. And his thought was this: whenever you're spending money, you should know where that money is going. We can't just spend money as if we have disposable income, because I would dare to say that 90% of the people do not have disposable income. However, I would say 90% of the people live like they have disposable income, if I can go that far to say it. And so we have to be mindful, and whatever that looks like in managing it ourselves. God knows your bills. He knows what you can give, and He knows if you're being a good steward of what He's blessed you with. And so those are the things you have to take into account when you ask a question about tithing. And I looked at the question as well, and listened to what you said. And God knows. Yeah, He knows. Whether you're being a good steward or you're just being somewhat unwise, if I can say it that way, or somewhat undisciplined in how you're spending your money.
Amen.
John, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, well, sometimes I see, I'd say one comment: don't tithe with your credit card. What do I mean? Don't go into debt to tithe. I see some people are just spending their stuff and then they'll tithe, and I'll just make it up and put it on credit card. I'm not sure if that's that's the plan here, but maybe we should think about what we're spending, because what it's saying is, well, I'm not going to go without all this stuff, so I'll just tithe and throw it on the credit card. Maybe there's some places we need to cut our cloth a little bit more and really tithe with the excess, not with borrowings. And as Pastor Craig says, it's the proportion, it's not the portion, right?
Right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, and also thank you for that question. That was a really, really good one. So, guys, we're coming down to the end of this. I know for sure that there's something called the NBA Finals that is upon us right now, and that clock and that countdown is ticking in my head. And I know you guys want to jump on and see Chris Paul versus Giannis. So, guys, we're not going to belabor this any further, but I really do hope that you guys are really getting something out of this. So, Pastor Craig and John, I want to pose another question to you guys, and there's this one: marriage and money. Wow, that's my wife. My wife is not too far from me, so I'm not going to say anything else. But yeah, marriage and money. And here is the question. It starts off like this: 1 out of 3 marriages has money as the main source of conflict. Money is also the leading cause of divorce. What are some practical steps married men and single men who aspire for marriage can take now to be better leaders / stewards of those relationships?
Let's go to the game.
Let's go to the game, right? That doesn't surprise me that it's still up there. It always has been, if not number one, in the top 3, finances, and how those things can cause challenges. And the thing I would say about this is that when it comes to finances and marriage, you have to realize that there has to be dual accountability. You have to realize that you just can't go out and spend money as if you're still a single guy, because as you talk about the two becoming one, and in marriage, that doesn't just mean from a spiritual, emotional, and physical aspect, but that also means in your finance and everything else. And so you have to be mindful that how you spend, and some people have good spending habits. You realize that when you go through premarital, and my wife and I've done premarital classes at BT for so long, you find out that you may have someone who's a spender and someone who's a saver, and you try to get that person who's a spender to understand that you have to curb your spending habits now, because you have to be accountable to the individual, whether you're a man and you just like to spend money. You have to realize that you have to start planning around how you spend money, what you're spending your money on, and understanding that you just can't go out and buy a new car. I've heard those horror stories where folks have gone out and purchased a new car, and I'll use my own self as a reference. I remember when I first got married, and which was one of those things that really hit home, was I reasoned in my own mind that we needed a new TV. Why? When we got married, I gave my TV away because I was living alone. We kept my wife's TV, and I felt we needed to upgrade. And so without consulting with her, I took a day off from work. I actually just went into the store, purchased the TV, took the day off that they were going to deliver without her knowing. They delivered the TV, a really nice TV. And so when she walks in, she sees this monstrosity sitting in the living room, and she goes, "What is that?" And I go, "Hey, we need a new TV and everything else." And she's looking at me going, "We didn't need a new TV, and we never talked about this, and we never discussed it." So, guys, I'm telling you from experience. I'm not. I'm telling you, we have to be accountable. Just to be honest with you, we have to talk and work out and determine if we do need a new TV, if we do need a new car, if we do need a big ticket item, um, make sure that we both feel comfortable with how much we're spending on that basic item.
John, before you go in there, I want to jump in there.
You
I
bought
think
a
Pastor
TV
Craig,
too, did you?
I think Pastor Craig already know what's going on, but I tell you, my
And that
wife.
was in year one. That was in year one, by the way.
Sarah already jumped in and said, "What you trying not to
Oh,
say,
what you
David?"
trying not to
I tell you, man, my wife is has some. She's always listening. Let me tell you, she's always listening. But something similar towards you that happened recently. We it was hot and it's just started getting hot, and I was like, listen, we need an AC in the house. I was like, I'm not going through another night without an AC. And at times I could be a bit impulsive, and I could just be like, hey, I'm going to get what I need to get and get it right now. And I got an AC, and she was like, well, listen, I don't think we should be spending X amount of money on an AC. And I said, okay, no problem. I'll figure it out. I just want to get me an AC because I'm hot. I don't want to sleep in the heat. And I end up finally getting an AC, and it was free. The Lord blessed me with a free AC, guys. Let me tell you something. When you pray and the Lord will just come through, who cares that it sounded like a jet engine? But listen, it cooled the room. It cooled the room. But the room was cool, but my wife was hot. And the reason why it was hot was very similar to what Pastor Craig said. I didn't talk to her about it. I just went on, and I was impulsive, and I just made a move, and I did something without including her in the process. And brothers, I learned that lesson similar to how Pastor Craig, I learned it very well and very quickly that I shouldn't be doing that. And I need to include my wife in everything, even in these small decisions such as an AC. She wants to be included in that. So I learned that lesson very, very quickly. So when you mentioned that, Pastor, I said I had to share. So John, how would you reply?
Yeah. One of these scripts that I've been reading from that people do believe, one of them says, listen to this, it's okay to keep secrets from your spouse about money.
Oh, no.
Now, some people agree with that. So again, that's a lie. You're on the wrong page, and you're just asking for a problem. But the end game with money, and all these lies that I've read out. Now you either buy into some of them or you remember some of them. Well, I'm sure if you talk to your wife, her list will be a little different. Yeah. So you got to reconcile these things. And how can you do a budget if you're very much on a different page? Well, we never did that at home, honey. Well, no, we don't do that. There's a lot of reconciliation around money. Money's very, it's not subjective. It's very quantifiable, right? It is a number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I'm reminded of this. This is lighthearted, but I think this was Harriman's wife, Brown Brothers Harriman. That wealthy partnership. His wife said, someone asked her. She said, "What does God think about money?" And her response was, "Just look at the people He gives it to." So, okay, I'll leave it at that. But it's more about the position we give it than the position it puts us in, I think. But when it comes to when I counsel, I find counseling individuals quite easy when it comes to the finances. Now, if I have a couple, I'm really dealing with three people. I'm dealing with him, her, and the two of them. And so there's a lot more dynamics I've got to understand. a lot of the times it's good for both of them because I can see, well, I just throw out these things that are very objective and sterile in a way, and I know they're going to go away and talk about it. And when we meet again, it's, oh, we've come up with the answer on that one, John. So I feel good about that, but I never mediate. But it's more, you guys have got to, the answer is what you both think, not what I think. I'm giving you the data points. But it's difficult. I think the most difficult budget is a family budget, husband and wife and kids. You've got expenses coming from all over the place. An easier budget is when all the kids have moved out and, husband and wife have worked out all their money script differences. They know what the other one's going to think before they think it. And at the easy end is the single person. But the tough part is you don't have an accountability partner. You're kind of accountable to yourself. But with a husband and wife, you got to leverage that accountability partnership role. That that's got to spring you forward, not hold you back. And that's a big benefit of two is three when it comes to being on the same page.
Yeah, so guys, I just want to quickly touch on something. I read an article and it had some key takeaways about marriage and money, and I thought there was really good stuff here, and I just wanted to read it out to you guys really quickly. Similar to our key points, shameless plug there about tackling money. So here's like some key points there. If you're committed to a relationship, you and your partner owe each other a calm, honest conversation about each other's finances, habits, goals, and anxieties. Number two, money problems involve discussions in which ego, anxieties about control, and notions of marital roles will have to be checked. When working together, couples can achieve more than singles can. That is a good one. If debt is an issue, couples can employ various tools and strategies to start paying off debt and get on better financial footing. Number four, having kids changes everything. Ideally, couples should communicate their expectations and ideas about how to raise and pay for them well before they're born. And here's the last one. The last key takeaway is this: couples who have trouble talking about money can seek out the help of a financial advisor or planner or for unbiased advice. Here it goes again. If you're having trouble, seek out help. So that's some key takeaways for single guys, and even for you married guys when it comes to tackling money.
Yeah, and I think even with John touched on it, even with the single guys who want to get married, you have to realize, and single women, you have to realize that when you come into that marriage, there was one of the the key takeaways. It was talking about the issue of debt, understanding when you come into a marriage, if you're carrying debt, it can create some tension in that relationship. Because if I'm a person who's debt free and you're walking into the marriage and you are carrying all this debt, and there's good debt, there's bad debt, but you have accumulated so much bad debt that now it's going to have an impact on how we have upward mobility, because we have to work on managing this debt that you've created. You have to be mindful. So you're responsible, whether you're single, especially in marriage, the accountability. But if you're single, just ensure that you're being a good steward when it comes to your finances. And don't, like John said, don't go beyond your means. Live below your means. Always try to live below your means. That's so important.
Good. So, guys, we're quickly approaching the last few minutes. We're getting really close. Yep, we're quickly approaching it. So, I just want to ask you guys some last words that you could just impart to some of the brothers and even sisters that are listening out about tackling money and just about stewardship in general. Who would love to go first?
John, I'll
Uh,
let you go first, and then I'll
yeah, and
close
you
out.
and you can wrap it up. Um, I mentioned at the outset we can be tough on ourselves, guys, when we ask that question. Why'd you do that? Why am I in this situation? It puts you back on the heels. Now, in a relationship, imagine if you ask your partner, your wife that, or why did you do that? Straight away, it's a defensive. You put them on the defense. So it's the better question is, this is for yourself and your spouse, is to start with what what was it that made you made that decision? Because you want to understand, right? You want to make the relationship a safe place, not a place of judgment and so forth. So, and also, we started off with, I'm ashamed of my financial situation. I feel guilty and so forth. Again, stop asking yourself why. Why am I in this situation? Why me? Ask, well, what decisions did I make to get me to this place? And then you can sort of say, well, maybe here's some ideas of what I've got to avoid doing in the future. And to go a bit easier on yourself. Now, the goal with money is money vigilance. And what does that mean? You know where it's going. You know how it's working for you. Whenever I'm dealing with couples, is we work out where we get their pay slips. Where's it all going? Then we say, well, what are your goals? And then, okay, well, all your accounts that you have, all the spending, all the things you're doing, they've got to point in that direction. And then, then we know we've got things aligned. And then suddenly there becomes a confidence, and it's not a daily angst. Like, if the lady who's, a single mom, 2 kids, she can't pay the rent, she goes to, a payday lender, and she gets the $200 to pay the rent. Then I go up to her and say, don't you know the impact of all that interest on your life? She's just going to look at me and say, hey, I can pay the rent. So it's the more we can avoid being overloaded with the day to day, and that's what a budget's about. You kind of
Right.
know what's going on without having to, crisis to crisis. You're juggling all these balls, and what are you doing? You're focusing on the one that's going to drop next. You don't want to be doing that. It gives you that tunnel vision, and you're not looking at the big picture. And the big picture is your goals. Your goal isn't, what you do today is about your goal in the future. So, I know the budget's a painful topic, but it helps you to avoid being distracted and continually, sabotaging your future, because you're just going from day to day, paycheck to paycheck. Wouldn't that be? I tell you, everybody can get off that. There is a way out of that. Um, but again, if it's the last thing this is the last thing I'll say. Talk to someone you trust, and share it with them.
And I'll just wrap it up with this. The Bible says, "My people shall perish because of a lack of vision," and that just speaks to goals. Understanding that if you don't have vision for yourself or your life, if you don't have goals that you can try to achieve, um, I said it earlier. You aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. But you want to aim at something. And then if you don't hit it, at least you can sit back, assess what came into play that kept you from achieving that goal, and re-strategize. You have to have a strategy. You have to have goals. Whether you're single, whether you're married, you have to have goals when it comes to your finances and how you want to uh, go through life, ensuring that You're in a place where you can be a better steward of what God has entrusted in your hands. And so I'll leave it with that. You have to sit down and start someplace with coming up with a strategy, and have a goal to achieve that. Have a strategy to achieve that goal.
So good, guys, and thank you so much for just being a part of this and just really sharing your heart. And like again, I keep saying this. This is a wealth of information, and I hope you guys are really gleaning and getting a lot from out of this. I know I have. But I also just want to leave a verse with you guys too, and just go over some key points that we've stressed over and over again. If you need help, reach out, reach out for the help, and reach out to someone who could help you, whether it be a financial counselor or a financial advisor, whoever it may be. Reach out to help. But there's also a verse I want to mention, and it was Proverbs 13:11. And I'm reading from the Amplified Version, Classic Edition. It says this: wealth not earned, but won in haste or unjustly, or from the production of things for vain or detrimental use, such riches will then dwindle away. But I want us to keep really hold on to this last portion here, the part B. But he who gathers little by little will increase his riches. Again, he who gathers little by little will increase his riches. I think Pastor Craig, as well as John, said this a lot, that our dollars are like soldiers. We got to put them to work. We got to keep them account, and we got to make sure that they are working on behalf of us. And so they could grow little by little. And guys, if the first step is for you just to talk to someone, talk to someone. Don't be alone. Don't allow your fear to be in control. Don't allow your shame or your pride to be in control. Speak to someone and allow that person, and hopefully they could get you to help. They could be your accountability partner, or we could or direct you to a financial, or refer you to a financial counselor or advisor. So brothers, we want to thank you for being a part of this, for Men's Health Month, Tackling Money, our Finance Live. If you enjoyed it and you like it, you like what we're doing here, send us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. You should all know what our email address is. But if you don't, guess what? I'm going to put it in here and right down there. Right down there. You see it? Wait, what? No, right there. There you go. Email us at men@brooklyntab.org, and we will love to hear from you. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us some ideas or some things that you would like to see that we can better encourage you guys. Again, I'm talking too much. I know it is 8:32. I don't know if tip-off happened already, so I'm about to get off this screen because I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to see this game too. So from John, we appreciate you. Pastor Craig, we appreciate you as well. And we thank you guys for being a part of this. And everyone who who tuned in, we appreciate you guys as well. So with that said, guess what? Peace out.